and welcome. Today, we're going to crack open that black box we call artificial intelligence. But don't worry, we're skipping the complex code and all the jargon. Instead, we're going to get to the heart of what AI really is, in a way that makes sense whether you're in sales, marketing, or just plain curious. So let's get right into it. So let me start by asking you this. When you think of AI, what pops into your head? Is it some endless maze of code? Or what if I told you it's more like a team of students working together to solve a puzzle? It sounds a little strange, I know, but trust me, that idea of a student team is going to be our key to unlocking some of the most powerful concepts in AI. First things first, we need to get the lay of the land. You see, AI isn't just one single thing. It's a huge, sprawling field. Think of it like a giant continent. What we're going to do right now is take a quick tour and map out the main territories so you can see exactly how all the pieces fit together. Okay, this chart right here breaks it down beautifully. Imagine AI is the entire universe of trying to make machines smart. Well, inside that universe, there's a huge galaxy called machine learning. That's a specific way of achieving AI. And right at the glowing center of that galaxy, you have a super bright star, deep learning. That's an even more specialized, more powerful version of machine learning. So, what's the big deal about machine learning? What makes it so different? Well, with traditional programming, we humans have to write all the rules. We literally tell the computer, if this happens, then do that. We give it the input and the logic, and it spits out an answer. But machine learning completely flips that on its head. We give the computer the input, and we give it the answers from the past. And from all those examples, it figures out the rules all by itself. It actually learns the pattern. All right, so if machines are figuring out the rules on their own, how in the world do they do it? It actually boils down to two main strategies, two main playbooks. And the biggest difference between them comes down to one simple thing, whether or not they get an answer key. Just think about your own email for a second. How does it just know what's junk and what's important? It feels like magic, right? Well, this is the perfect everyday example of that first playbook in action. How does it tell the difference between a note from your boss and some, once-in-a-lifetime offer? The secret behind it is something called supervised learning. And the best way to think about it is this. It's learning with an answer key. Imagine you gave a new employee two massive stacks of mail. One is labeled spam. The other is not spam. Their job is to just sit there and study both piles until they start to recognize the patterns. That is exactly how we train the AI. The process is actually pretty straightforward. First, we feed the machine thousands, maybe even millions of emails that we've already labeled correctly. Then, the machine just churns through all that data, looking for patterns. It starts to notice that spam emails often have words like urgent offer or have really suspicious-looking sender addresses. Finally, based on all those patterns, it builds its own set of rules. We call this a model, which it then uses to predict if any new email that comes in is likely to be spam. Okay, so supervised learning is fantastic when you have all that nice, clean, labeled data. But what happens when you don't? What if you just have a giant, messy pile of information with no labels, no answer key at all? This is where our second playbook, unsupervised learning, comes into the picture. And the analogy for this one is just perfect. Imagine you give a little kid a huge, messy pile of toys and two empty buckets. You don't tell them how to sort them. You just say, here, organize these. What's the child going to do? Well, they'll just start finding their own patterns, right? They might sort everything by color, all the red toys in one bucket, all the blue ones in the other. Or maybe they'll sort by type. Cars over here, dolls over there. The AI does the exact same thing. It looks at a whole bunch of unlabeled data and finds the natural groupings, the clusters, without any human telling it what the categories are supposed to be. So we've got machines that can learn with an answer key and without one. But what about really messy, complex stuff like images or sound or text? Things you can't just neatly organize in a spreadsheet. For that, we need to go a level deeper. And that brings us to deep learning. Now, the key difference to remember is all about the data. Traditional machine learning is awesome with what we call structured data, neat rows and columns in a spreadsheet. Deep learning, on the other hand, is built to handle the messy stuff, the unstructured data. We're talking about images, text, video, all the things that make up most of the digital world. It's actually inspired by the way the human brain works in layers. To really wrap your head around how this AI brain works, let's go back to our student team analogy. Let's say your task is to teach a group of students who have never even heard of a koala how to spot one in a photograph. You wouldn't just give one student the whole job. That's too complex. Instead, you'd break the problem down into tiny, simple tasks. You'd say, okay, Mike, your only job is to scan the picture and yell out if you see koala eyes. Moen, you're the nose expert. Shakib, you just look for those fluffy ears. Each student gets one very specific, very simple job. This is exactly like the first layer of neurons in an AI's neural network. But just spotting individual parts isn't enough to know you're looking at a koala, right? You need someone who can see the bigger picture. So the next logical step is to add a layer of management to the team. And right here, this is the magic of deep learning. The specialists on the ground floor, Mike, Moen, and Shakib, they report their findings up to their manager, Serena. Now, Serena's job isn't to look for eyes or noses. Her job is to decide if those pieces together form a face. Meanwhile, another manager, Nidhi, is looking for body parts. And finally, they both report up to the final boss, Sergey, who takes their reports and makes the ultimate call. Is it a koala or not a koala? See? Each layer builds on the simpler findings of the layer below it. Okay, koala detectors are fun, but let's bring all of this theory back into the real world. How does this actually show up in the tools you might be using at your job every single day, maybe without even knowing it? Generally, you're going to run into AI in one of three ways. You've got your standalone tools like ChatGPT that you go to for a specific task. Then you have integrated features like the AI that helps you write better, right inside of Google Docs. And finally, there are custom solutions, which are built from the ground up to solve a very specific problem for a company. And these custom solutions aren't as sci-fi as they sound. I mean, take this example for a sales team. Imagine having 200 clients. A custom AI could look at all the past information and interactions, and then rank those clients by who is most likely to need help right now. For a salesperson, that is an absolute game changer for prioritizing their time. And look, here you can see our big concepts in action. That sales tool we just talked about, that's supervised learning. It's been trained on past sales data where the answer, a successful deal, is already known. But what about a project manager buried in notes? An unsupervised tool can dive in and find hidden groups of related tasks, creating order out of chaos. Same for marketing. Unsupervised learning can sift through customer behavior and find brand new groups of customers you never even knew you had. So as we start to wrap this up, if there's one thing to take away, it's this. AI isn't some single magical thing. It's really a toolkit. It's a whole collection of different approaches, like supervised and unsupervised learning, all designed to do one primary thing: find patterns in data so we can make better, smarter predictions. So I'll just leave you with this thought. The next time your email filters out spam or a shopping site recommends the perfect product, you'll know what's going on behind the scenes. You'll see the answer key, the toy sorting, that team of students at work. Now that you know the playbook, how does that change the way you see the game? Thanks for joining me.